The ancient temple doors groaned open with the weight of centuries, and Kessa Ravine was dragged into the presence of the Council of Eternal Memory. Energy shackles seared her wrists with white-hot agony, but she refused to bow her head. 7 robed figures sat in judgment upon their crescent of thrones, their elongated faces marked with ceremonial scars that pulsed with an eerie luminescence in the chamber's oppressive gloom. High Seer Therion rose from the center, thrown with terrible grace, his staff of twisted bone clicking against the stone floor like the countdown to an execution. His 3 eyes fixed upon her with the crushing weight of uncounted centuries, and when he spoke, his voice reverberated through the chamber like distant thunder. "Another human trespasser," he declared, the words dripping with contempt. "You were found prowling near the Forbidden Archive. Explain yourself before we pass judgment." Kessa met his ancient gaze without flinching, her voice steady despite the pain radiating through her body. "I was searching for answers about my people." "Your people?" Seer Therion's laugh was cold and hollow. "Your people are barely evolved apes who stumbled into the cosmos yesterday. What answers could possibly exist here for creatures who only recently discovered faster-than-light travel?" The council members murmured their agreement, a chorus of dismissive contempt that echoed off the vaulted ceiling. One of them, a female counselor with silver markings that snaked across her gaunt features, leaned forward with barely concealed disgust. "Send her to the labor camps. Humans make adequate workers if properly supervised and broken of their delusions of significance." Kessa felt rage ignite in her chest, burning hotter than the shackles on her wrists. "You judge what you do not understand." Therion tilted his head, a predator's amusement flickering across his features. "Enlighten us then, human. What great mystery eludes our superior intellect?" Kessa's response fell like a stone into still water. "Why your empire fell." The chamber plunged into silence, so absolute it seemed to suffocate sound itself. Several council members lurched to their feet, their robes swirling like storm clouds. Therion's grip tightened on his staff until his knuckles turned bone white, and the glowing scars on his face blazed with sudden fury. "How dare you speak of such things?" he hissed, venom dripping from every syllable. "I dare because I know the truth," Kessa replied, her voice ringing with conviction. "Your ancestors were not always conquerors. Once they sought knowledge and understanding. Once they traveled not to dominate, but to learn. Once they valued wisdom over power." Seer Therion descended the steps with deliberate menace, each footfall echoing like a death knell. He stopped mere inches from her face, close enough that she could feel the heat of his breath and see the fury blazing in all 3 of his eyes. "Prove you possess even a fraction of the knowledge you claim," he challenged, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Prove you are more than an ignorant savage stumbling through ruins you cannot comprehend." He gestured sharply, and a younger priest hurried forward, trembling as he carried an ancient tablet covered in intricate symbols that seemed to writhe and shift in the flickering light. The writing shimmered with its own internal radiance, as if the words themselves contained captured starlight. "This is written in the first tongue," Therion explained, his voice thick with challenge. "A language dead for 10,000 cycles. Only the highest scholars among us can decipher fragments after decades of study. Read it, human, if you can." Kessa stared at the tablet, her heart thundering against her ribs. This was the moment that would determine everything, her life, her mission, the future of her entire species. She took a slow, deliberate breath, felt the weight of generations pressing down upon her shoulders, and began to speak. "In the time before memory, when the stars were young and the void was silent, the firstborn walked between worlds seeking companions rather than subjects." The words flowed from her lips in the ancient language, clear and precise, each syllable resonating with power. The council members gasped collectively, a sound of shock that rippled through the chamber like a shockwave. Therion stumbled backward as if physically struck, his staff clattering to the floor with a sharp crack that seemed impossibly loud. His face had gone deathly pale, all 3 eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered, the word barely audible. But Kessa continued reading, her voice growing stronger with each phrase, each sentence a hammer blow against the council's ancient certainty. They found a world of blue oceans and green lands where young creatures had just discovered fire and wondered at the stars above. The firstborn did not conquer. They taught. They shared. They loved. "Stop," Therion commanded, but his voice shook with an emotion Kessa couldn't quite identify. How can this be? How can a human speak the words of the ancients? Kessa looked up from the tablet, tears streaming down her face, her voice thick with emotion. Because Earth was not always alone. Your ancestors came to us 20,000 years ago. They stayed for 3 generations. They taught us language, agriculture, astronomy, mathematics, the foundations of civilization itself. Then they left, believing we would grow strong on our own, that we would reach for the stars when we were ready. The silver-marked counselor stepped forward, her hands trembling, her previous contempt replaced by something that looked like desperate hope. "The Forbidden Archive speaks of the lost world," she whispered. "A planet designated for observation and protection, but the coordinates were destroyed during the Great Collapse. We thought it was myth, a story told to children." "You named us the Children of Promise," Kessa said softly, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "You wove your language into our myths and legends. We forgot the literal meanings over the millennia, but we preserved the sounds across countless generations. My grandmother taught me bedtime songs in words she did not understand. Those songs were your language, your gift to us, passed down from mother to daughter for 200 centuries. Therion sank to his knees, the proud high seer crumbling like ancient stone. "We thought the children were lost forever," he said, his voice breaking. "We mourned you for 10,000 cycles. When our empire fell and our worlds burned, we believed our greatest gift to the cosmos had perished unseen. We survived," Kessa said, her voice fierce with pride. "We evolved. We struggled and fought and learned. We reached for the stars just as you taught us, just as you believed we could. And we came searching for our oldest teachers because some part of us always remembered. Some part of us always knew we were meant to find you again." The high seer looked up at her, and where contempt had been, wonder now blazed in his 3 ancient eyes. "Forgive us, child of the promise. We had forgotten who we once were. We became what we despised, conquerors instead of teachers, rulers instead of guides. We lost ourselves when we lost you." Kessa smiled through her tears, and it was like the sun breaking through storm clouds. "Then let us remember together. Let us teach each other once more." The energy shackles fell away with a sharp hiss, clattering to the stone floor. Therion embraced her as the council wept openly, their ancient pride crumbling away to reveal the grief and longing they had carried for 10 millennia. After countless cycles of isolation and arrogance, of conquest and loss, the children had finally come home. And in their return, the teachers remembered who they had been and who they could become once more. Please like and subscribe to HFY Sage of Stars for more stories.